Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in to live coverage. Last night, I was, in fact, streaming the live event when intense storms moved ahead and knocked out power to my entire neighborhood. In fact, the power actually didn't even come on until 4:30 in the morning after several rounds of intense storms were continuing all night long. And in fact, we had a lot of damage. In fact, some tree damage in and around my neighborhood. But the same X setup continues going forward. And let's take a look at the setup over the next several days and watch all this play out, because we do still have that active just mid-level jet that's just screaming off the equatorial Pacific. That is running right over Oklahoma and Texas, picking up all that abundance amount of moisture, tapping into the Gulf of Mexico, and these well above average temperatures for this time of year. It's not just the temperatures itself, it's just the very high dew points making the heat index is just insanely warm. We've got numerous heat advisories unfolding in this region, and that same setup just kind of continues. If we take a look at the storm reports from last night, these systems formed from the northwest, like we said, and dived east southeastward, leaving 7 tornadoes in its track. And these are very preliminary reports. And the biggest hail last night was in around the Sanger area, 5 inches, folks. The tornado watch was, in fact, called for CD size hail, and that definitely came to fruition up there in the western portions of Sanger. But once it hit East Texas, it was mainly transferring into a very high wind threat. And that actually just continued all the way diving down into the southeast. But it was a very intense night, just not for the very intense storms, but the very intense rainfall as well. Here's that actual swath that came through from the northwest down to the southeast. But right around the Pensacola region, we just had continuous storms just form one after another after another. And this is a 24-hour rainfall total. In fact, this fell a lot less than that. This was 18 inches of rain, folks. We had some serious urban street flooding up in and around the Pensacola area overnight with just very heavy training thunderstorms. 2-3 inches per hour over 6 or 7 hours can add up to those totals in a big way, and that's exactly what happened down in that region. But for today, we've got the boundary just a little bit further north, so that puts the storm track further north. So they're going to be starting to blow up portions of eastern portions of Colorado, back into western portions of Kansas, and then traverse down to the east southeast, inundating portions of Arkansas, back into Mississippi again, back into Alabama, getting into the Florida panhandle, unfortunately, where they don't need the rainfall. And then we also have another pocket of energy too along the Virginia coastline, back into portions of Delaware and sneaking into portions of New Jersey. But going into tomorrow, this is your jet stream, folks. I mean, this is all complements of that El Nino just coming in fast and furious, and that's having these quarter impulses of energy, what they call short waves, that come across, tapping into some of that abundant amount of deep moisture down there, and then just activating during the peak heating of the time frame. And then once you get a supercell, these cloud tops have been crazy. Last night it was topping out 67,000 feet, folks. That is rare to do, and it's actually something I've never seen in North Texas. And I've looked at a lot of weather for many years. I've never seen cloud tops that high over the atmosphere as we did last night. And that's the kind of situation that we're dealing with as these pulses of energy come through the Texas panhandle again. Unfortunately, they had that devastating tornado up there in Perryton, Texas, and the panhandle lost several casualties up in that region, damaged a ton of homes. Unfortunately, this is a similar type setup that could unfold again on Saturday. It's going to be going into, tapping into some of those higher dew points. These areas are just crazy warm, well into the upper 70s dew points, really abundant amount of moisture in the same kind of general areas along this boundary into the Oklahoma region, back into North Texas, fishtailing down into portions of the southeast. This area is just prime for more heavy rain and more intense storms. because we got a lot of precipitable water that's going to be feeding into the system. So once the atmosphere starts to turn over, and it's typically right after peak heating maximizes around that 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon, all you typically need is one supercell to form. Then that will shift outflow boundaries out ahead of it, which will create more storms, and those will be diving east to southeastward. And that's exactly what I think is going to be playing out in and around Saturday night time frame. So in fact, the Storm Prediction Center has now upgraded to an enhanced risk again for a lot of the same areas within the Oklahoma area for more intense storms, a little lighter down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But even then, I do feel this is going to be upgraded to a moderate and then fishtailing further south into an enhanced by the time we get into tomorrow. So don't let your guard down. We're looking for more intense storms, and they could be big time hell producers as well. They have another hatched risk in these areas, really starting to activate across western Oklahoma, swinging through the Oklahoma City area, and then diving east southeastward down through the Red River areas from Wichita Falls down into the Red River areas. And this will continue to dive east southeastward, where you see that hatched risk and where you've seen that big hell lately, unfortunately, you're going to be seeing it again in the form of that 2-inch or plus diameter. We've seen so many reports of baseball to softball size hail, and then what used to be rare grapefruit and CD size hail, it's almost happening on a daily basis now. In fact, there are several areas I can pinpoint across the country where it has seen 5-inch hailstones somewhere over the last just 5 days alone, every single day. And it used to be a very, very, very rare event to see something like that. You'd go over many, many years, and now we're seeing it almost on a daily basis with this setup that we've seen, as this El Nino is not playing around, folks. This means business, and some big time storms are going to be continuing on the way, and some heavier storms are going to be shifting back into portions of Florida, back into the later evening time frame as well. And the wind threat is there too. So you're still going to be seeing some significant winds. They were topping out last night in the 84 mile per hour range in the Norman area. You're likely going to see more of those intense winds, going into Saturday night, upwards to 70, 80 plus miles an hour in some isolated spots. Can't be ruled out. So as we go into the, where the heavier rain is going to be falling, it's going to be falling around this axis right here, back into Kansas, back into Mississippi, going into Missouri, back into Arkansas, into the Florida Panhandle. We do have that low pressure center up there in the Northeast, and then to the north of that, that's where some light rain showers are going to be up there in portions of New England. But again, further south, as we extend the view and head into Sunday, it's all about the boundary, folks. And this boundary shifts off a little bit further off into the east because the heat wave starts to take over for a good part of the south. And that's going to push the storms pretty much further southeast as well. I still think it's going to be clipping the East Texas region, maybe Dallas again, but East Texas, but mainly in portions of Arkansas, getting into Louisiana and back into Mississippi again, with just those very heavy rains that will be coming through. But further to the northwest, we do have a fairly significant trough that's going to be pulling in. And yeah, that's mixed precipitation, folks. It's not out of the question. And the very high elevations, we could be starting to see some snow starting to fly up there in that region. So as we transfer into Monday, you can see the setup. So that's not as extreme with the subtropical jet off here. It's not just crystal clear. So there's some kinks in the hose down here. So there's the setup. It's not going to be able to produce that severe storms like you're going to be seeing the next couple of days. So I feel like you do get a break as we get into that Monday time frame. But all eyes will be shifting off up into the northeast to northwest there with a pretty significant dip in the jet stream, complements of that PNA dropping negative. That's going to drag down that cold air and drag down some cold air in a big way. And you're going to be feeling it while you're still going to be feeling the effects of the chillier air up here in the extreme portions of New England as well. So looking at the surface map, you can actually see it's fairly high and dry across the desert Southwest, across the southern plains, because the heat ridge starts to build by then, and that will put the rain showers across portions of the Southeast. and just kind of light to moderate rain. I'm not expecting these to be severe, but that won't be into the day on your Monday time frame. But the headlines going into Tuesday is going to be the heat for the middle of the country. So the Texas ridge really starts to dominate and push it further north into Oklahoma. That shuts off the tap for the storm complexes. And then we're also going to have another piece of energy that's going to set up over Canada too, with well above average temperatures. And where you're going to have that weakness in the ridge along the end of the southeast, that's where you're going to be having some instability and some isolated rain showers in the mix as well. But again, if you all eyes turn to that purple region up there in the Pacific Northwest, that's definitely some chilly air. And underneath that, we can take a look at some of those actual temperatures, folks. And yeah, all those areas in red, yes, those are kind of higher elevations, but still, that's all below freezing, folks. I mean, I know you're looking at the map and said, hey, isn't that close to the first day of summer? Well, yes, it is. I mean, it's cold, folks. I mean, that's a pretty significant dip in the jet stream. And so if you want to get away from the heat, all you got to do is head west, and I promise you, you're going to be needing a jacket because it's going to be cold in a big way. And so let's turn to the tropics, because we are in hurricane season. We're about 3 weeks in, and in fact, they did extend, instead of the National Hurricane Center going 5 days out now they're going out 7 days. So they've been watching this active tropical wave that's coming off the coast of Africa, and most ensemble members of the GFS and the European has been fairly bullish on this, trying to get it to develop. And this is 7 days out. So between now and the 16th, once I'm doing this recording, all the way to the 23rd, it's still not even into the Lesser Antilles by then, but they still give it a 60% probability of this thing's trying to spin up so to some sort of tropical entity in the next 7 days. So if we zoom into the latest European guidance, yes, most of the members of the European have it continuing to shift off. This is over the next 10 days, folks. So most of them put it somewhere near the Lesser Antilles by the time we get into 7 days from now, around the 23rd. But then again, you see more and more members, once it hits this area, tries to sneak it and further up. And this would obviously push it out to sea as well. And while there's like maybe one member out here taking some sort of energy and trying to push it up into the Gulf of Mexico, here's the GFS. And again, it's got most members, if not almost all members, moving it towards the Lesser Antilles and then moving it out to sea. It's only got maybe 2, maybe 3 members are trying to have this little piece of energy of a tropical wave lift up here through Cuba and start to impact with some heavier rains across portions of southern Florida by the time we say get into that 23rd of the month. And if we take a look at the precipitable water index, yeah, it's a probability this could spin up into some sort of tropical depression or so 7 days out. But this is where the latest European guidance is. The next 7 days pushes that same system where they have that 60% probability now. This is where it could be 7 days from now, but more than likely on this particular one, if I had to make a guess of call right now, it's going to be going out to sea. So once it hits the Lesser Antilles, it's going to be pulled northbound. So this little tropical wave doesn't, even remotely form any tropical entity. This is just amount of abundance of tropical moisture that will be fed into portions of Florida that will obviously elevate their rain showers for them as you get closer into that 22nd, 23rd time frame, with some moderate and some heavier rains moving back in the picture for them. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I am probably going to be doing live coverage again for tomorrow night on the Oklahoma and Texas storms. I do in fact to be another likely significant severe weather event. So I will be updating tomorrow morning and then likely going live again tomorrow night to cover those storms and live stream action. So be sure to come back tomorrow's video and obviously watch me for the live coverage with severe weather on Saturday night. So catch me tomorrow and I'll see you then.